Welcome to this predicted paper from On Maths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our On Maths site. On Maths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. So we need to first of all understand what a cube number is. So a cube number is the answer to when you get three integers or whole numbers and we multiply them by themselves three times. So 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, 3 times 3 times 3 is 27, 4 times 4 times 4 is 64, and 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. So 1, 8, 27, 64, 125 are all cube numbers, and it goes on forever. And this question's asked us to find all the odd, or an odd, cube number that is smaller than 100. So it has to be odd, so that gets rid of the 8 and the 64. And it has to be smaller than 100, so that gets rid of the 125. So I can either write down 1 would be a fine answer, or 27. I'm going to go for 1. Here we have a triangle, and we've got an angle of 48 degrees. We've got this right angle, which is 90 degrees, and we're looking for x. So what we need to do is we need to realise that the three angles will add up to 180 because it's a triangle. So what we're going to do to find x is just subtract the two angles which we know. So we're going to subtract the 90 degrees plus the 48 degrees from 180. And in brackets we're just going to say the reason, and it's angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So when we do that, we do 180, take away 90 plus 48, and you get 42 degrees. To find a coordinate, what we can do is we can start in the middle and we work out how far across we have to go. And here we have to go 2 across, so the x coordinate is 2. Then we find out how far upwards or downwards we have to go. And here we can go, well, we have to go 3 downwards, so that's going to be -3. So we first of all look at the x coordinate, the 2, then the y coordinate, -3, along the corridor, up, or in this case down the stairs. Looking at this line, what do you notice about all the coordinates? Any coordinate along this line, the x coordinates are going to change, but the y coordinates will always be 3. So the equation of the line is y equals 3. To answer this question, we basically need to find the lowest common multiple of the 10 minutes here and the 15 minutes here. So we're going to start off just by doing the 10 and 15 times table. So it'd be 10, 20, 30, and 15 times table with 15 and 30. So the lowest common multiple is 30. So after half an hour, these buses will sync up. They'll both leave at the same time. And all buses start service at 9 o'clock. So it will be half an hour after 9 o'clock, which will be 9:30. The lowest point on this graph is here, and that's at point 6, and the highest point is here at point 20. And we're looking for percentage change or percentage increase, and the formula is change over original times 100. So the change between the 6 and the 20 is 14. The original, the starting point, was the 6, and times by 100. And that gives us 233.333 blah 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 percent. And this 100 technically is 100% that we're timesing it by. So it says it wants it to the nearest percent, so that would be 233%. So for this question, we need to understand that the units we currently have are in meters per second, and the units we want to get them to or convert them to are kilometers per hour. Now to convert the meters part is quite easy, because all we need to do is divide by 1,000. And when you divide the top of a fraction by 1,000, all you do is you just divide the whole thing by 1,000. So we're just going to divide the whole thing by 1,000. So we've got 95, and we're going to divide the whole thing by 1,000, so we get 0.095, and that's going to be kilometers per second, because we haven't dealt with the seconds yet. So that's the easy part. The more difficult part is converting the seconds to hours. So to convert seconds to hours, we divide by 60 and then divide by 60. So we divide it by 360. Seems simple enough. But the seconds are at the bottom of a fraction, and when you divide the bottom of a fraction by something, you actually times the whole fraction by that thing. So we're going to times the whole fraction by 360. And so we do 0.095 times 360, and you get the answer of 342 kilometers per hour. So our answer is 342 kilometers per hour. First thing we need to do is work out the area of the wall. And so to do that, we're just going to multiply the 44 by the 40. So 44 times 40 is 1,760. And next thing we notice is that each tin covers 10 meters squared. So it actually means we can work out the fact that there are 1,760 meters squared in total for our wall. And if each tin covers 10 meters squared, then we will need 176 tins. That's the amount of tins we need. And each tin costs £5.70, so it'd be 176 times the 5.7, or £5.70, or you could do it as 570 pence and convert it at the end. And that gives us a price of 1,003.2. And so as money, that would be £1,003.20. To answer this question, we're going to have to create a two-way table for all the information. So I'm just going to draw a quick table. So we've got maths, English, science, then a total column. And then across here we have male and female and a total column. Okay, so going to fill in maths at the top, English, science, and then we have a total. And then we've got male, female, and then total at the bottom. So looking at the information we have, it says there are 43 students who are male. So altogether the total male is 43. 30 out of the 52 students who went to science were female. So we're just looking at science, and 30 were female, and it says there were 52 altogether. 37 students went to English, so total for English was 37. And then 17 females went to maths. So looking at maths and females, which would be there. So that's all the information we're given, apart from the 115 as well. There we go. So we start filling these in. So looking at these two, if there are 115 students altogether and 43 were male, that means 72 will be female. Looking along the bottom here, the total of English was 37, the total of science was 52, and the total altogether 115. And notice I'm not necessarily reading the question here, I'm just filling out the two-way table, but we'll read the question at this point. So it says work out the number of males who went to English. Males who went to English will be this box here, so this is our target. But you can't work that out directly, we've got to kind of go around and work out what we can. So the next thing we can do is work out this bit here. So the total female is 72, Females who went to maths 17, females who went to science 30, so that leaves 25. And then you can see here we can work this out. So the total was 37 who went to English, 25 females, and so that means there will be 12 males. The midpoint of a line is just the halfway point of the line, and we can see that the halfway point will be here, and so the coordinates of that point are 0, 2. So firstly we're going to work out what the percentage increases are as a multiplier. So we start off with 100%. Jane has a 1.2% interest pay rise, sorry, and so that would be 101.2%, and we divide that by 100 to make it a multiplier. So the multiplier is 1.012, so we get the 20,000 times it by 1.012, and that gives us 240. Next we do the same for Lenny, so that is Jane. And so let's do Lenny. And so that's 100% plus the 1.5% will be 101.5%. Make that a multiplier, 101.5%. We divide that by 100, which gives us 1.015. And then finally what we do is we get the 17,000 times it by the multiplier. And when we do that we get 255. So Lenny has 255, Jane has 240. So it says which of the employees has a larger pay increase and by how much. So the answer will be Lenny, and it's by £15 because that's the difference between these. To answer this question we need to cut this shape into two shapes. So we're going to draw a line across here and we're going to cut it into a rectangle and a triangle. Now we need to first of all label the parts of the triangle. So the length or the width of the triangle, the base, will be the same as the base at the bottom, so that will be 20 centimeters. And we need to find the height, which is this length here, which is 90 degrees to the base. And to find that, what we can look at is the fact that the total height of the whole thing is 13, and the height of the bit we don't want is 11. So what's left over? Well, 2 centimeters will be left over, so the height will be 2 centimeters of the triangle. So let's work out the area of the triangle first. Which is going to be half times base times height. Half times the base, which is 20, times the height, which is 2, will just give us 20. Now let's work out the area of the rectangle. And that's just going to be the width times the length. Width is 20, the length is 11, so that would be 220. Then to work out the total area of the whole thing, we're just going to add those together. So 220 plus 20, which is 240. The units are all in centimeters, and so the area units will be centimeters squared. So when simplifying ratio, it's very similar to simplifying fractions, but instead of the same thing having to do the same thing to the top and bottom, you have to do the same thing to the left and right. So I'm going to start here by dividing both sides by 100. So I notice they both have 2 zeros at the end. So that'll give me 10 here and 34 here. Now these are both even numbers, so a nice easy next one to do is dividing by 2. And we get, was it 17? And 5 and 17, well, they're both prime numbers, and so there's nothing we can cancel them by, so it's going to be our answer, 5 to 17. The formula for the circumference of a circle is just simply pi times the diameter. Here we're given the diameter is 20, so it's just pi times 20. When you type that into the calculator, you get 62.831 blah blah blah, and we need to round that to 2 decimal places, so we're just going to round that to 62.83 centimeters. In this question we've got pounds and we've got dollars, and we're told that £1 is equivalent to $2.12, and we're asked how many dollars can be bought for £1,500. So to get from 1 to 1,500, we times by 1,500, and we're just going to do the same to the other side, 1,500, and when we do that we get the answer of 3,180. So £1,500 is equivalent to $3,180. Rate is always something over time. So in this question, we can write a quick formula of rate is volume, like released from the water bottle, over time. Now we can rearrange that so that we have, because we're looking for the amount of water or the volume of the water, we can just rearrange it so that we have volume equals rate times time. Now it says the rate is 62 milliliters per second, so we've got 62 in there. The time is 11 seconds, so we just do 62 times 11, which is 682 seconds. Not seconds, milliliters, because it's volume. So 682 is our answer. We can't work out what x is straight away, but we can find this value here. And we know with Pythagoras we can find a third length if we've got other two in a right angle triangle. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And a and b were labelled. C is always opposite the right angle, so it'd be 49 squared plus b squared equals 68 squared. And 49 squared is 2,401. And 68 squared is 4,624. So we are solving here, so let's get our lines down. And we're going to start by subtracting the 2,401 from both sides. So we've got b squared equals 2,223. Then we're going to square root both sides, and we've got b equal to 47.148, blah blah blah. Okay, we're now looking at the second diagram, and this time we're going to have a, we've got our b, and we're going to call x the c. So it'd be a squared plus b squared equals c squared, but this time a is 39. B we are given as 47.148. We've just worked that out, and we're looking for c. In fact, we can call it x now. Okay, so we need to square that. So we do 39 squared plus 47.148 squared, and that will be 3,744 equal to x squared. And we'll just get our lines in because we need to square root both sides, and we get 61.188 blah 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 is equal to x. It says it wants its 2 decimal places, so that will be 61.19. So we're going to start just by writing this out. So m equals 7 brackets x minus 10, and we're going to put our solving lines in. I'm going to start by expanding the brackets, and we don't need to. We could divide both sides by 7, but I think this is a bit easier. And we're going to subtract, or we're going to add 70 to both sides. So we're trying to get x as the subject. So we're trying to get x on its own. And we're next going to divide both sides by 7. So we have m plus 70, all of that over 7 equals x. So x equals m plus 70 over 7. So this question says that Adrian, Ben and Charlie have some sweets, and the ratio of Adrian to Ben to Charlie is 9 to 6 to 13. But it also says that Charlie got 56 more sweets than Adrian. So there's 56 more sweets. Well, looking at the actual parts of the ratio, there are 4 more parts. So plus 4 parts, which represent plus 56 sweets. So the 4 extra parts are worth 56 sweets. So 4 parts are worth 56 sweets. So 1 part would be 56 divided by 4, which is 14 sweets. So all we need to do now is work out how many parts there are. Well, there are 9 plus 6 plus 13 parts, which is 28. And each part is worth 14 sweets. So the total number of sweets will be 28 times 14. So 28 times 14 is 392. Integer just means whole number, so we're looking for all the whole numbers that satisfy these two inequalities. Well, the first inequality says that it has to be greater than 3. So the smallest number that is greater than 3 is 4. The second inequality says it has to be less than or equal to 8. So I'm just going to keep going until I get to a number that is less than or equal to 8. It can't be 9 because 9 is not less than or equal to 8. So our answer is 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So we're going to write out the question again just to give us a bit more space. And we're going to put in our tramline so we can solve it. Now we're going to solve this in exactly the same way as if it was an equation with an equals in the middle. One slight difference though is if you times or divide by a negative, you've got to flip the sign, but hopefully we won't do that. Now the rule when you've got x's on both sides is you get rid of the smaller amount. So we're going to get rid of that 4x from both sides. We're going to take away 4x both sides. And so we're going to have 3x plus 8 is greater than 23. And then we're just going to solve this normally. So take away 8 both sides. And that will give us 3x is greater than 15. And then we're going to divide the 3 both sides. And that will be x is greater than 5. So we're asked to find the value of n where both sequences have the same term. So I'm going to start off by equaling both nth terms to each other. And then we can find the value of n which gives the same term. So I draw my lines down. And I'm going to start off by getting rid of the n's from both sides. So we look to see which is the smaller amount. So we've got 12n and we've got 6n. So the smaller amount is the 6n. So we're going to take away 6n both sides. And so that would be 6n plus 19. And we've got rid of the 6n, so it's just 79. Next thing we're going to do is get rid of the 19. So take away 19 both sides. And so we've got 6n equals 79, take away 19, which is 60. And finally, we just go divide the 6. And so that'll be n equals 10. So the value of n is 10. Now we can just test this, because if you do 6 times 10, which is 60, 60 plus 79, which will be 139. And then if we do the same for the top one, 12 times 10, which is 120, plus 19, which is 139. So they both have the same term when n is 10. So we're asked to find angle BCE, and that is going to be this one here, because you start at B, go to C, and then go to E, and it's the angle you make. And I might just choose a different colour, because we've already got red on here. So we're looking for this angle here. Now, my advice for these kind of questions is always just try and work your way around the shape with angles you know. So for instance, I'm going to start with this angle here, and we're going to call this angle ADC. And we know that that must be 79 degrees, and always write down the reason, and we know it is because that is an isosceles triangle. So if you look, we've got an isosceles here, this one, and this one, and the bottom two angles, and I use the word bottom because I always imagine an isosceles as being this way up. The bottom two angles in an isosceles are always equal, so that must be 79. Now we've got two of the three angles in the triangle, and the last one is going to be angle DCA. And to work out what this angle is, we're going to take it away from 180. So we're going to do 180, take away the two 79s we've just worked out. And the reason for that is angles in a triangle equal 180 degrees. Okay, so when we do that, we do 180, take away the 158, and we're left with 22 degrees. So we know that this is going to be 22 degrees. And now we can actually work out angle BCE, because it's going to equal angle DCA. And the reason for that is they are vertically opposite angles. So that's just going to equal 22 degrees. Now, it is really common for these types of questions for you to get maybe 1 or even 2 marks for the answer, but 1 or 2 marks normally for the reasons and for the explanations. In fact, I've seen quite a few exam questions where you get 2 marks for the reasons and only 1 mark for the answer. This looks like it's a really tricky question, and it is a little bit tricky, but it's a little bit easier than maybe it looks. The highest common factor is found when you have the prime factors, which we do, of 2 numbers, and you put them into a Venn diagram. Then you can find the prime factor, the highest common factor, by multiplying all the numbers in the overlap. So we're going to rewrite these numbers. Just instead of squared, we're just going to write them out without index form. Just makes it a bit easier. And so I'm just removing the squares, and we're going to draw ourselves a Venn diagram. So let's just do a rectangle at the outside. I'm going to try and do some nice circles here. Try my best anyway. Okay, so on the left hand side we have the 450, on the right hand side we have the 132. So we'll start with the 450 and the numbers. So actually looking at the numbers, looking at the factors at the top, the prime factors, we can see they both have a 2 in them. So I cross them both out and put 2 in the middle. We can see they both have a 3 in them. So cross those 3's out and put 3 in the middle. And then 450 has a 3, a 5 and a 5. And 132 has the 2 and the 11. So to find the highest common factor, as I said, you multiply all the numbers that are in the middle. And so the highest common factor will be 6. To find the gradient, we use a simple formula, which is m equals the second y-coordinate take away the first y-coordinate over the second x-coordinate take away the first x-coordinate. So our second y-coordinate is 17, so it's going to be 17 take away the first one, which is 14, over the second x-coordinate, which is 60, take away the first one, which is 45. So that's going to be 3 over 15, and then cancel that down, will be 1 over 5. So our gradient is 1/5. So for this frequency polygon, what we've got to do is work backwards to work out what the table was that created it. So we're going to just draw a starting of a table. And we're going to have our midpoint first, then our like money spent, our intervals, and then our frequency. So the first midpoint is at 40, and we can see here that that was, let's get rid of that, that was between, like that was in this group here. So that is 0, and I'm just going to use M for money, 0 to 80, and the frequency is how high it is, which is 10. The next midpoint is here, so that was going to be 120. And we can see that that's between 80 and 160, and the frequency is 20. And finally the last midpoint is here, which is obviously 200, and that is between 160 and 240, and the height of it is going to be 7. So we're looking for the probability a customer spent less than 160. So that is these two here. Okay, so there are 30 that are less than 160. And how many are there altogether? Well, it's that 10 plus the 20 plus the 7. So it's going to be over 37. So it's 30 over 37. To find solutions for quadratics on a graph, all you need to do is find out where the graph meets the x-axis. Okay, so the coordinates this graph meets the x-axis are here and here, and that would be minus 0.8 and minus and 0.2, and they're also called roots. So with each of these pools, try and imagine it being filled. So pool A, first of all, we've got water coming into it, and it's actually going to go quite quickly initially, and then it will hit a point at the end where actually it will go really quite slowly because it's a wider pool. So we would imagine that the graph for pool A would actually go quite quickly at the start, and then at the end it would go much slower. And that doesn't really describe, the graph, the red graph doesn't really describe that at all. So for pool B, we start off actually quite quickly because it's quite thin, and then we have a wider bit here, so it will go slower here, and then we go quickly again. So we need a graph that starts off quite quickly, then goes slowly, and then goes quickly. And the steeper the graph on our depth time graph, the faster it's filling up. And that red line doesn't really describe that either. Pool C, however, we can see it goes slowly at the start. And then because it's thin, it will go quicker. So nice quickly. And then it will go slowly again. Well, that is a perfect description of the graph that we're given. So the graph we're given is definitely going to be for pool C. So we're just going to copy this out first of all. So we've got x equals y over 15. Now we're asked to make y the subject, which means we want y on its own. What's stopping y from being on its own? Well, it's divided by 15. That's what over means. It means divide. So how do we get rid of that divide by 15? Well, we do the inverse or the opposite, which is times 15. So we go times both sides by 15. X times 15 is 15x, and it will get rid of this fraction here and just leave y. So y is 15x. So when we're asked to find the position, we're basically finding out what n is, and we're told that the sequence has a 39 in it, and we're finding the position of 39. So we're going to equal the nth term to the 39 and solve it. So we're going to put in our solving lines. And the first thing we're going to do is take away 15 from both sides because we want n on its own. So we get 6n equals 39 take away 15, which is 24. Then we're going to divide 6 both sides. And so we get n equals 4. So 39 is the fourth term in the sequence. And you could write it out. You could put n equals 1, n equals 2, n equals 3. Just keep going till you get to 39. Or we can do the method we've just done, which is solving it. With this question, you've just got to know what the different functions look like. So with C and D, we've got quadratic functions. One's a positive quadratic, which is a U shape. One's a negative quadratic, which is a kind of upside down U shape or an N shape. And here we don't have that, so we can get rid of those in our thoughts straight away. A is a positive cubic, which goes up, then down, then up again. And B is a negative cubic, which goes down, up, and then down again. So this one here goes up, down, up again. That's going to be a positive cubic. So our answer is A. First thing we need to do is work out the volume of this prism, and it's a trapezium-based prism. So the volume will be the area of the cross-section, or area of the trapezium, times the length, how 3D the prism is. So trapezium is half A plus B H, and then times the length. Now A and B are the two parallel sides, which will be this one and this one. And then the H is the perpendicular line that hits both of them at 90 degrees, which is what perpendicular means, between the bases. So this will be the 25 meters here. So it's going to be half, and then we're going to add 1 and 5, times that by 25. The length is how 3D it is, so it would be that 10 there. So we're going to times that by 10. And that will give us 750. So it's 750 meters cubed. Now, there is a little formula we can make for the rate. So the rate of anything, for this, will be the volume gained over time. Now, with this question, though, we're interested in the time it will take. It says how long will it take. So we're actually looking at the time. So it will be time equals the volume, which is 750, over the rate, which is 15. So 750 divided by 15 is 50. So it will take 50, and let's have a look. It says per minute. So it would be 50 minutes. With these questions, it's normally easier to view these as two separate triangles. So we've got a small triangle here with 19 and 47. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this out. And we've got a bigger triangle here. And we've got, well, we've got a bit of, we don't really know what any of the sides are just yet, but we can work them out. Okay, now we know that both of these triangles are similar, and the reason is they share an angle and the lengths at the bottom are parallel, so they will be similar, which means one's an enlargement of the other. And we are given some information in the question that the ratio of BC to DE is 1 to 6. So BC is this length here, and DE is this length here. So we're actually given the scale factor because we know that 1 times 6 is 6. So we know the scale factor is 6, and it's asking us to find length AD. And so the corresponding length to AD, which is this one here. So all we need to do is get that 47, times it by the scale factor, so times it by 6 to get to our value. So it's 282. When you have a number next to a letter, it's the same as putting a times there. So we're just going to write this out, but by putting times symbols in. Put the numbers together and the x's together. So here we've got 3 times 7, which is 21, and x to the power of 5 times x to the power of 4. Whenever you multiply bases with powers, you just add the powers as long as the bases are the same. So they're both x to the power of something, so we're just going to add the powers together. 5 plus 4 is 9. When it's said that y is inversely proportional to x, it means that y changes as 1 over x changes. And to write this in an equation, all we do is we just write y equals k over x. Now k is something we need to find. So what we need to do is find out what a value of y and a value of x are somewhere on the graph that would be formed from this, and we've got that in this question. So we know that when y is 7, then x is going to be 7.9. And what I need to do now is just draw my lines down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just times both sides by 7.9. And so we have k equals, and it'd be 7 times 7.9, which is 55.3. So we know that k is 55.3. So I'm just going to rewrite this equation here, or this formula here. But instead of k, I know that it's going to be 55.3. So our answer is y equals 55.3 over x. So we've got a right angle triangle here, and it involves two lengths and an angle. So we know we're going to be using trigonometry for this. And first step of trigonometry is labelling the sides. So the one opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse. The one opposite the marked angle is the opposite, and the one between the right angle and the marked angle is the adjacent. Now notice there's not a number or a letter next to the adjacent, so we can cross that out straight away. Next thing we're going to do is draw our triangles for SOHCAHTOA. So I'm going to have SOHCAHTOA. And we've crossed out the A, so we're going to cross out the Ka and the Toa because they both involve an A. That leaves SO, and SO is short for sine x, or sine the angle, equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. So the angle is 83, so it's going to be sine 83 equals the opposite, which we've labelled as x, over 7.9. Then we can put our solving lines in, and all we need to do here is times both sides by 7.9. And be careful when you do sine 83 times 79. Most calculators open a set of brackets when you type in sine, cos, or tan. So make sure you close them after you type in times 7.9. And when you do that, you get 7.841 blah 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 equals x. And so rounding that to 2 decimal places is 7.84. So the first thing I notice is the second equation isn't really in the normal format for doing simultaneous equations. So I'm just going to rearrange it so that we have it where we want it to be. And I'm just going to put my lines in so I can rearrange. So the first thing I want is the x's and y's on the same side. In fact, actually all I need to do is take away 4y from both sides, and we get 5x minus 4y equals minus 7. Okay, so what we do now is we put both our equations down so we can solve these simultaneously. So 5x minus 4y equals minus 7. And you notice the coefficient of the y is already the same, so we don't need to multiply anything. But the signs are different, and the d in different is the d in add. So we're going to add going downwards. So we're going to add everything. So we're doing 3x plus 5x, which is 8x. 4y plus minus 4y is nothing, which is good, because we want to get rid of that. And 47 take away 7 is 40. All right. Let's put our solving lines in, and we're going to divide by 8 both sides. So we get x equals 5, and we're going to substitute that value into one of the equations. I'm going to pick this top one. So instead of 3x, we're doing 3 times 5 plus 4y equals 47. get my solving lines in. So that will be 15 plus 4y equals 47. And then we're going to take away the 15 both sides. And so it's 4y equals 47, take away 15, which is 32. Divide by 4 both sides. And we get y equals 8. Now we can check that using this equation here. So 5 times 5 is 25. Take away 4 times 8, which is 32, is minus 7. So we know we've got it right. So here we're asked for a minus b. So in our vector we're going to do a, which at the top is 5. Take away b, which at the top is 4. And we're going to do the same with the bottom. So we're going to take away the minus 2, take away the 7. 5 take away 4 is going to be 1. Minus 2 minus 7 is going to be minus 9. So our vector will be 1 at the top and minus 9 at the bottom. So we can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our OnMaths site. OnMaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.